Hello and welcome back. Today, the happy habits we're focusing on are aimed at producing dopamine because we want to just activate that attitude of I can and I will. Dopamine is mainly known for our motivation, which is why it's suited to achieving that attitude of can and will. So it is influenced and it also influences our motivation, our reward sensations, our learning, our habits. Okay, so if we have enough dopamine, we can change our habits, or our habits will change, and our habits will also influence the production of our dopamine too. But it is really important for motivation as well. A minute ago, you might have heard the wee sound there. That was my dog playing with his toy. And if you remember when I introduced this cycle before, what I've said is an action that I've taken is that I've stood in his paw. Now, to confirm once more, it's accidental, but that can make me think that I'm a bad person and have feelings of guilt and sadness. And then that'll be a cycle that impacts my well-being, which will continue to go around unless I choose to focus and change any of the points that are being impacted now by the start of that cycle. And thinking of my wee dog, because we're looking for dopamine, we're looking for motivation. What we want is we want to implement a reward system for ourselves too. So when you on purpose choose to focus on your thoughts, feelings, and actions and make a conscious choice to change them to ones that are serving you better than what's already in place, then reward yourself for doing that. And a reward is anything that makes you feel good and gives you a sense of satisfaction without a negative consequence associated after receiving it. But anyway, what we're looking at now is the thoughts, feelings, and actions that we can put in place and develop as natural habits that are likely and proven to help the production of dopamine. When we are looking at this cycle, or thoughts or feelings and our actions, usually those are automatic responses and those are automatic things that we do every day without thought. And what happens then is whatever our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions are, our brain is receiving that as a message. So as you can see there, my wee image, my brain receives a message from these things that are within this cycle. And then from those messages that the brain picks up based on what our thoughts, feelings, and actions are, the brain then knows how to respond. And the way that it responds is to do with what chemicals it produces, whether it's the happy hormones, as we're talking about here, the dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins, or whether it needs to produce the stress hormones, because the brain's always just waiting on the signal to give you what it is told you need. And sometimes the messages it gets, they aren't always communicated in the best way. So our cycles very often are there with the purpose of getting the positive intention or a certain outcome, but some cycles serve us at getting that intention and outcome, and some of them don't serve us well. So we want to be really clear about what's currently in place, whether or not that is promoting the production of dopamine or not, or if we need to make a few changes. So today what we're going to do is we're going to look at how we can start from the point of feelings, because when we start from the point of feelings, that can change our thoughts and our actions as well. And it's really important that we're not always just trying to knock everything away and change it all the time, that actually we can sit with what our feeling is, bring acknowledgement to it and awareness to it, and remember that our feelings are a compass directing us towards our needs. So if we consider that our feelings has a message for us, then it's a great way to start. Now, bringing our focus to any of these points at any time, there's a few questions that I would consider asking once you start to notice and bring awareness to what your thoughts, feelings, and actions are. This is these questions now. When you take each thought, feeling, and action into your awareness individually, begin by considering what's the positive intention behind it. How is the thought, the feeling, or the action serving me? And how is it working against me? So what can I do differently to get the intended outcome? So for example, we're talking about dopamine. I want to tune into how I feel first. And if I'm feeling sad and I want to be comforted and I want to feel better, something I might do is eat chocolate, because apparently that helps us to produce dopamine. So the positive intention behind the action there is that I want to feel better. So I want dopamine to do that, to give me a wee bit of boost, a wee bit of motivation to get going. So how's it serving me? Well, I might think I have a wee bit more energy with the chocolate and a bit of sense of satisfaction and reward. But how is it working against me? Well, the sugar production and the things that are used to make chocolate, actually make it harder work for my body to process all of that stuff, and then that can send me high and then send me even lower than I was before, by using up all my energy by trying to process all of this stuff and all other things too. So it then ends up depleting my sense of dopamine. So I know that what I want is a good positive thing. So how can I get it differently then if continuously eating the chocolate all the time isn't getting it for me? So if I start with a point of feelings and I identify that I feel sad, then first what I want to do is acknowledge that feeling. You can acknowledge it by asking what the positive intention of it is. And if our feelings are the compass towards our needs, then what is the feeling of sadness doing for me? For me, when I feel sad, I don't do as much anything. I'm not as organized, I'm not as productive, and I'm not as outgoing. I'm not that willing to go and see people and do things. And my motivation definitely dips for getting tasks done, whether it's housework or actual work that needs done. So what's the positive intention behind all of that? The sadness seems to be slowing me down and trying to get me to stop. So maybe what it's trying to tell me is that I need to rest. And then if what I was trying to do was be productive, then I'm definitely going to avoid rest. But that sadness now is really kind of taking over and impacting the way that I act. And it's not getting me it's not getting me to feel better by choosing the action of eating chocolate. When the intention is to feel better, the feeling wants me to rest. So feelings kind of don't consume us and impact us as strongly when we allow them to be felt. If we try to avoid them and push them away and ignore them all of the time, then that's when they kind of keep creeping up and trying to convince us that they know what's best, because every thought, feeling, and action is convinced that it knows what's best for us, because we've learned at some stage that worked well. But if it's not working well right now, then I'm going to begin by doing an emotional release technique. So to begin the emotional release technique, I'm sitting firmly in my chair. I have my 2 feet planted firmly in the ground, and my palms are resting on my hands, or they're resting on my legs. And I identify how I feel. I'm just doing a quick scan of my body to see what sensations I notice. What can I feel and where can I feel it? So you may identify any emotion that you're currently feeling. The feeling that I have noticed is sadness, as a sensation of heaviness in my stomach. So now that I have a safe space to feel this emotion fully, I choose to give this emotion permission to fill me up so that I can feel it fully. I'm going to begin to imagine that the emotion starts filling from my feet. And as I do that, I will on purpose tense my feet and imagine the emotion filling me all the way up through my calves as I tense my calf muscles, tense my thighs, my hips and back, my stomach, shoulders, neck, chest, and arms are now tense as I fill with the feeling of sadness. My neck and jaw, my head and face have all become tense with this feeling of this emotion. I feel it fully, and I choose now to thank it for the messages it gives me, and I offer it permission to be released. So I relax on purpose my head, my face, my jaw, my neck and shoulders as I visualize the emotion now washing away from me. I relax my arms, my hands, my chest and back are relaxed. My stomach and hips become relaxed. My thighs are relaxed. My calves relax. And finally, I relax my feet. With an inhale, I take a moment to rescan and search for any residue of this emotion. It has served me well by communicating my needs. I choose to honor it by taking this moment now to rest in feeling and releasing this emotion. I feel calm and relaxed. If you still feel any sense of the emotion that you need to release, you can repeat this exercise as many times as you need to. By intentionally tensing our muscles, starting from our feet, moving all the way up to your head, and then relaxing those muscles again, starting from our head all the way back down to our feet. Breathing deeply in through the nose and out through the mouth. Remember to have gratitude for your feelings, for their positive intention, and for your body and all that it does for you, including storing these emotions. And when you're ready, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, and blink your eyes open, returning back to the room that you're in. So our feelings then will really influence the way that we act. And of course, as we've seen, actions can influence how we feel as well. So it's really up to you where you choose to start. But it's very important to acknowledge and release emotions and feelings just because they do have a positive intention for us. And of course, do that in a safe space and with whatever support you need as well to go along with it. But if you're starting with a point of actions from looking at our well-being, then here are some things that we can do every day that send the signal to our brain to produce dopamine. So start every day by writing a to-do list. Write out a to-do list every morning and you'll get clarity in your mind of everything that needs done, and it gives you like separation from it, and it allows your brain to have a break from those thoughts of what I have to do swimming around in your head. Gives you the chance to close one of the tabs, as they talk about 19 tabs open and where's the music coming from. So when we write that down, it gives us a sense of clarity and it allows us to be a bit more objective in our planning. But what's significant in producing the dopamine when it comes to a to-do list is whenever you cross something off that you've achieved or you put a tick beside it to show that you've done it, that then sends the signal to your brain that you have achieved something and gives you that feeling of satisfaction, as well as tells your brain to produce dopamine. And the more that you can see what you're doing well and how successful you are and what you're doing instead of what you're not, then your brain is giving you that feeling of motivation and makes you more motivated to do other things well too. But let's be honest, we don't always get time to write a to-do list, or we don't always get time to do the things that we wrote down to do. That's just life. So to avoid the pattern becoming, I wrote all that down and I didn't do it, look what I didn't do. Change the narrative. So as well as doing a to-do list in the morning, every evening I want you to do a list of what went well today. You can do this at dinner time or you can do it during the day, just to change that focus to what went well, because it's the same process. When you're focusing on what went well and you're purposely doing that, eventually that will become your automatic, and your brain then again gets the signal to produce dopamine. It makes you more motivated, and it reduces any negative self-talk around the things that we don't get done. It makes us have more positivity and more clarity to be able to reorganize and rearrange and see that, we are successful and we are doing well, and there's room to do those things another time. So we're just a bit kinder to yourself. And just to really, really hone that in and get those neural pathways built that form our habits of focusing on positivity, a bit more writing for you, but write down what I'm grateful for. I would say write down 3 things that you're grateful for, either every day or every night. And it can be the simple things like, I am grateful for seeing the trees blowing in the wind right now, or for the fresh water that comes so handily from my tap, or for the fluffy socks I wear to bed. Anything that you are grateful for, it creates neural pathways in your brain that makes positive focus your automatic habit. And guess what? That helps to produce dopamine for motivation as well. So I would say that if you're looking to improve your dopamine for motivation, there's something that you want to increase your motivation for. So what are your goals? Think about what your overall goals are. What are the things you want to achieve? And of course, when you're setting your goals, you want to be really specific about the goal that you're setting and have it measurable. So what's the time frame? What's the number of things that need to be done? Is it an attainable goal? So if I want to travel, it's not really attainable to think that I'll travel the whole world this year. And relevant, is it relevant to me, and what I want in my life as well? Like, is there time on it as well? When am I going to do it? So if you say, let's talk, for example, I wanted to become a counsellor, and then I'm looking specifically at how to do that, when to do it. It's achievable, I can afford it. I'm looking it up, what steps do I need to take, when am I going to decide to take them steps. So before I apply for the course, I decide when I'm going to do it, when I'm going to make the call, when I'm going to do the research. It's relevant to my line of work. It's attainable, as I've said, because I can afford it. It's measurable because it's going to be done over a 3-year course, and that suits my current circumstance. And specifically, the course is counselling. It's not just I want a qualification. But a wee bit more than that to improve your motivation for a goal. If you're sticking to a time frame and you're writing out small steps towards each goal specifically, I like to start with the goal, the large overall goal at the top of the page, and the small specific ones starting in steps from step 1 at the bottom, what I need to do first. Research where the courses are, find out how much it is, make a call, put in an application, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. But more than that, I like to question about why this goal is important to me. So this is where I'm really getting motivated for it. And then my motivation will be continued and prolonged if I take these smart steps too. But why is this goal important to me? Well, it's important to me because I've always been passionate about helping people, and I thought about doing it when I was in secondary school, and it never left me. It's important to me to help people, etc., etc., etc. Who benefits from me achieving this goal? Well, the obvious answer might be me. It might also be any clients or anybody who comes near me. Anybody who comes to see me when I'm a qualified counsellor, you would assume. And why are these benefits important specifically? Well, to go back a step first, who would benefit? Not only me and the people who I'll end up working with, but what about what becoming a counsellor will do to me? So to do it, you have to do a lot of personal development as well. So it'll make changes to my well-being and improve my self-awareness and all sorts of things. So who's going to benefit from that? Well, it'll change how I show up then in my relationships. And see, the people in your life, they learn from what's been modeled. So I will say, they don't say monkey get told, monkey do. They say monkey see, monkey do. So monkey sees, monkey does doesn't apply just to children, but it applies to the other people in our life too. You know the way whenever skinny jeans first came out to begin with, and everybody was about feared of wearing them because they looked pure weird until some person wore them, so then another person felt okay to do it, and that filtered through. Well, that's kind of the same with every goal that we have. So if I become a counsellor and I improve my well-being, then the people around me will see that it's okay to continue to improve their well-being too. And then they, with that subconscious permission that they receive from seeing it being done and modelled, they will make changes and improvements and benefit from it as well. Not that I'm making them change or that I'm counselling them, but just that they will take a lead from what they're seeing being done by someone close to them. And so why is that specifically important? Well, it depends on each specific individual, whatever's going on for them, whatever they need that they can see can be done and is being modelled. And then they'll filter that through into their work and into their friendships and into their other family members' lives too. And then that'll filter through and filter through. So that's the positive knock-on impact from these benefits as well, as who it all filters through to. And it might sound exaggerating and far-fetched, but if you want to be motivated to do a goal, you really want to get in depth and specifically how and why it has potential to be so important and so positive. And why is it important that all those benefits have a knock-on effect? Well, you could say that we're living in a society that's struggling right now because of a pandemic. And sure, before this, in the country of Northern Ireland, we had all of our trauma because of the Troubles. And they talk about the impact that that has had filtered through the generations. So imagine if just that one goal had that influence that it reached more people than I knew without me having any direct involvement in it. Maybe it's a bit far-fetched, but it's important enough for me to want to try. It's important enough for me to want to feel passionate enough to carry out the goal and go forward with taking the first smart steps towards achieving it and then maintaining those steps too. Now let's look at the thoughts. The thoughts as the starting point from this cycle of well-being. Thoughts are usually triggered by something happening. The things that happen are the things that influence our well-being. And the law of the body says that when the thing happens, we have an automatic thought about it. And the feeling that we have is because of what we thought, not necessarily because of what happened. And then our actions come as a result of the way that we feel. Now, obviously, we can start from the bottom up and all that sort of stuff. But when things happen, that's usually when automatic thoughts are triggered. So my stairs weren't clean this week. And I thought that I couldn't be bothered to clean them. That thought caused me to feel tired and unmotivated, sent a signal to my brain that I don't need dopamine and that my energy levels could afford to be low. So I avoided it and procrastinated. But did that serve me well? And was there any consequence to that? Well, nobody else cleaned them, so they got dirtier, and that made it harder to do the next time. So let's take the thought then and see what we can do about changing it. And the thought, first of all, was that I can't be bothered. So what's the positive intention behind that thought? And is it helping me? Well, if I thought that there was a positive intention there, it would probably be that it's trying to tell me to rest. It's not doing it in the most pleasant and insightful way, but it's basically trying to tell me to rest. But is that helpful? Because will I rest fully if I know that that isn't done and that will irritate and bother me when it's not done? And if I don't do it, then my actions actually reinforce any thoughts that aren't serving me as well. So that might be what's called negative self-talk being reinforced. If I didn't do it and I went to rest and I didn't clean the stairs that night, I could end up telling myself I'm lazy and I didn't do this either. And then your brain will try to reinforce just negative self-talk again. So I want to challenge then that thought of I can't be bothered. So you're trying to get me to rest. So is that helping me right now? It's not. So what else am I considering what am I not considering right now? What I'm not considering when I'm thinking that I can't be bothered is that although I believe that I can't be bothered, it doesn't actually take long to do the stairs. The last time I did it, it was right and easy. I'm sure I got to rest far more fully than after it was done because I wasn't thinking about when I would actually do it. And I'll feel better about it having been done as well. And then the consequence then of changing that thought is that I will do it. And just as a reminder then, because that cycle is influenced by each point, then it's more likely that once I feel motivated, that I do actually clean the stairs, it'll also reinforce positive self-talk too and spark more positive thoughts, because this cycle keeps going. Once we've impacted one point of it, it influences the rest of it. So when it's done, I'm walking over it thinking, thank God I did that. God, isn't that great seeing that done? Geez, I love having a clean carpet. And that might sound really, really insignificant, but just the pattern of any positive thoughts in my mind at all is sending a signal to my brain to produce happy hormones. And if I can see that something I did was done well and feel satisfied from doing it, one of them hormones is going to be dopamine, to make me more motivated to do more again. Now, what else has been going on for me? Well, I had an essay due, so that's a trigger. An automatic thought that I have about certain essays could be that I can't do it. That leaves me feeling frustrated, and if I'm frustrated, I'm definitely not motivated to actually do the essay. And again, in this example, I'm avoiding it or I'm procrastinating. Now, what's the positive intention behind thinking that I can't do it? Well, it's to avoid the pain of failure. But is that thought helping me right now? If what I'm actually doing from believing that I can't do it, and remember, I believe that I can't, then I'm actually not avoiding the pain of failure, because I'm still not doing it. Even though it doesn't make sense, these automatic things don't have to come from the part of our brain that's rational. They come from different parts, and often the part of survival, so it doesn't have to make sense. But it does influence the way I act. So is that serving me well, that cycle? No, it's not achieving the positive outcome that thought actually wants to achieve. It's not going about it in the best way. So is this thought a fact? Well, is it a fact that I can't do it? Actually, no, I haven't even tried. The fact, what is the fact here, is that I just find it hard. I find it hard to get started. I find it hard to understand a bit. So what have I got control over in this situation? Well, I can break it down. I can break it down into small parts at a time. Or because I'm struggling to understand it, because I find it hard, I can just get help. Speak to somebody about it. Now, while those answers to those questions that challenge the automatic thought might have been enough to get me motivated then to start doing my essay, for some of us it's not. Everybody's thoughts are individual to them, and it's really essential that we believe our new rational thought as strongly, and more strongly even, than we believe the original automatic thought. We believe our own thoughts. So I might question it a bit further. I'm still looking at the automatic thought that I can't do it, and I'm going, well, what am I overlooking right now? Actually, in the past, I've done hard essays before, and what worked well was when I had free time, when I had free space, when I could just sit and get at it and write it out and do whatever worked well for me. So what information goes against my thought is the same answer, that, it's not that I can't do it, it's that it's hard, but I've done hard things in the past. We can do hard things, tells Glennon Doyle to every person that she knows, and we can. So I can apply what worked well before and do it again. And I might even, and I have before, revisited old essays that I've done just to refresh my memory of what helped me at that time, and also to see if there's anything in it that's relevant to this one now, to make things easier for myself. If this is hard, how can I make it as easy as possible for myself? Now, once again, when I believe the new rational thought, because it is true that I've done hard essays in the past and I've achieved it, I've passed it, what I can focus on now then is the plan to make it easy for myself. That way of thinking signals the brain that we're feeling good, that we're motivated, and it tells the brain is told to produce dopamine, gives us the motivation to actually get the thing done. So again, I'm feeling motivated and I'm doing it. I'm doing the essay. So please take these tools and those questions to challenge our irrational thoughts that aren't serving us well. But remember that them thoughts are trying to protect us, but they keep us in fear. When we can find a way to believe in ourselves and to believe new, rational, realistic thoughts, we are unstoppable. Getting out of that comfort zone, that's a prison. Getting out of there, stepping into fear, that is where growth happens. So you can apply all of what you've seen here to as many elements of life as possible. And the more things that we do, the more confident we become. And also the more things, or the more often we do what we're confident in, the stronger our confidence becomes as well. And we can take our learning from what we're confident in and apply it to new things that we'll now have motivation to do, because we've been able to convince our own mind that we are capable of doing it. So let me know how you get on with this, and all the best with trying it. Remember, you know what's best for you, and you are the person who has ownership of your well-being. So absolutely well done for being here, and good luck with applying it all.